All right, into that top story. Preparations have been finalised for the repatriation and restitution homecoming ceremony of South African freedom fighters. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to officiate at the ceremony at Freedom Park Heritage Site and Museum in Pretoria this morning. The families of some freedom fighters whose remains were buried in Zambia and Zimbabwe have already gathered at the Freedom Park Heritage Site and Museum in Pretoria for a prayer session that's currently underway. The mortal remains of 42 liberation heroes and heroines were received on Wednesday at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in Centurion. They include former ANC Secretary-General Duma Nokwe, who passed away in Zambia, former PAC leader Letsolo Edwin Makoti, and renowned journalist Todd Matshikize, and others. So Freedom Park is the home to this massive homecoming ceremony. Let's cross to our reporters that are there located on the scene at the moment. Kaya is the first one that we're going to cross in there. That's Kaya Lihle Kumalo. All right, doesn't look like that Kaya can hear us, but Kani is also at Freedom Park. She's been having some conversations with a few of those family members. Let's try and cross in with Kani and find out what's happening with her. Kani?
Well, good morning to you, Leanne, and to the viewers at home. Once again, apologies for that delay. It appears that you are a bit inaudible there. Now, we are drawing closer and closer to the arrival of those mortal remains from the military hospital here to Freedom Park, where that ceremony will begin. Of course, it is starting to become a hive of activity here at the Freedom Park as we await that arrival. We understand that there is still prayers, spiritual prayers that are taking place, or interfaith prayers that are taking place at the Isivivanes site, where our colleague Kaya Lihle Kumalo is currently stationed there with some of the families that are awaiting to celebrate the life and legacy of their loved ones who have been returned home. We spoke earlier to Ms. Ndima here from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, speaking about the future of a project of this nature, and stating that although they have started in Zambia and Zimbabwe, there are some other challenging areas that they have to look at and do critical research to see if it is even possible in those challenging, highly difficult areas, if they'll be able to realize this dream, or this mission rather, to bring these liberation heroes that contributed greatly to the constitutional democracy that we enjoy today back to South Africa, explaining that although it is quite the task for the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, as well as the many implementing partners into this very important project, they are looking into research in those difficult areas such as Angola and Tanzania to see how many more of those liberation heroes they can bring back to South Africa, to the final resting place here, where they can be reunited, at least the mortal remains be reunited with their families. And then, of course, shortly, in a few moments, we will be speaking to Mr. Dan Hato when he does arrive. That is a former MK soldier who served with some of these just over 40 soldiers that will be returned here today on this momentous occasion to reflect on the hefty cost that was paid in order to celebrate the constitutional democracy that we enjoy today.
Sophie Mokoena also standing by. Sophie is outside the one military hospital. That's where the remains are at the moment, and we are waiting for that procession to start, I believe somewhere around 8 o'clock, but the timing is still being determined. I think there's a lot of logistics behind the scenes taking place, but we'll certainly be there to capture that moment. But perhaps Sophie knows a little bit more in terms of timing, and she may have heard, because she is standing right outside that venue. So, Sophie, let me hand it over to you.
Well, indeed, Leanne, we expect the cortege to leave and the procession to arrive at Freedom Park at Isivivane around 8:30 this morning. We expect the cortege to leave here at the one military hospital at 8 o'clock. We are told that it will be members of the family, some of them, and officials from government. But let's look at how this process started. We know that there was a delegation sent to Lusaka to negotiate, and there was exhumation, and therefore the remains were repatriated on Wednesday. We know that Also in Zimbabwe, a similar process did happen where there was a delegation that included government officials and also members of some of the families. And therefore, after that process, there was an exhumation of those areas where they were buried, and now on Wednesday, they were repatriated to South Africa. We know that it is 42 people remains who are here because the others couldn't be brought back to South Africa because the governments in both countries indicated that they need proper identification of relatives, and there were challenges with some of their relatives that they couldn't locate. We know that today the president will be delivering a message during the ceremony at the amphitheater. We also know that the Premier of Gauteng will welcome the guests, and of course the representatives of Zimbabwe and Zambia will also deliver the message from those countries. We expect the High Commissioner of Zambia and the High Commissioner of Zimbabwe to do that. We know that the Minister of Defense, who's responsible for the defense and also for the veterans, to deliver the speech. The Minister of Arts and Culture, Gayton Mackenzie, will then introduce the president. We were told earlier on that the mayor of Tshwane will deliver vote of thanks, but because yesterday he was voted out, we don't know who will do those formalities. The other important issue to note is that the repatriation will happen in other countries later, in countries such as Uganda, Tanzania, Lesotho. Among those who are in Lesotho, that it's the younger brother of the former South African President, Thabo Mbeki, whose remains still has to be repatriated to South Africa. And before passing on, Apanet Mbeki had requested that his family must do just that, but we are still waiting. And therefore, many other families would be waiting to see whether their loved ones will be brought back to South Africa. It is going to be a long process with many people. Back to you, Leanne.
All right, Sophie, thank you very much for that update from One Military Hospital.